right, so I've been exploring partials quite a bit with you guys in major keys. We did E, we did A, we did G. Now I wanted to, and I mentioned I would be moving on to this. I wanted to show you when I talk about partials, I'm working off of two strings generally at once. And in this case, we've been working a lot with the G string and the high E string. We've been working on this kind of stuff. If you've been following my recent lessons, you'll see that, which is all great. But then I wanted to also mention, if you're in, say, E minor, where would you go? You know, we're talking about embellishing. If someone's got a rhythm going, you know, like a little finger picking like that, got an E minor, and then a D with an F sharp. See, I got that one. It's like a D. So you got a second fret on the G, third fret on the B. Don't worry about the high E, and finger that second fret on the low E string. So it's a D with an F sharp in the bass. Goes nicely with the E minor. And I made a little loop with it, as you heard me playing through. But here's what I was playing. I was just playing just a little finger picking, or you could strum it, and then go to that D with the F sharp. It's a nice pattern for a nice chord progression for interplay. And what I'm trying to get you to do here is, like, if somebody's playing a rhythm, you got two guitars, say, going on, and you want to do something atmospheric or something that embellishes what the rhythm guy's doing. You don't really want to play a rhythm with him at that point. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to show you some partials, and I'm going to also show you a couple of harmonics you can do with this little loop thing, and you can go back and check it out. But I think this is valuable because if you're playing, you know, in a group setting or even with two guitarists, somebody needs to do something that, you know, that doesn't encompass all six strings and strumming all the time, because it tends to get muddy. So check this out, and I'll show you what I'm doing. But when I say a partial, you got an E minor chord here, right? Some people might call that a power chord or whatever. And so you're on the 7th fret. You guys know this one. Low E. So it's nothing more than an A minor, like down here, right? And then just move it all the way up to the 7th fret here. And let that low E ring out. And then if you want to hit the D chord, you can just hit that second, like I just showed you. Or there's an interesting way to do it. So you can do you get another way of doing that D chord is just bar everything but the low E on the 7th fret. And you're gonna understand why that's important in a minute. That might be it, eh? Okay, so hopefully we can now approach the loop, and I'll show you some moves, but they're gonna be partials from the E minor chord. So you got your 9 on the D, and you got your 8 on the B, which is, you know, part of the, if you spell out the E minor chord, you're just doing the D string and the B string. And then I'm going to go from there, I'm going to go to the 7 on the D string, and the 7 on the B string. And that's a voicing of a D. Looks like a part of that power D chord, right? So there's only two chords in this whole exercise. It's just E minor, and strum it or pick it, and then I go back to the D, F sharp. Now you can hear I've got a little bit of grease on it from my amp, and I feather that in with the volume. Here's what it sounds like, just with nothing. I like to bring in a little atmosphere. Hear that? Tiny little bit of tremolo, a little bit of reverb. Not a lot, but it kind of gives it a little flavor. Special sauce, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and hit the loop. And that's the loop. So E minor, right? Now it's going to the D with the F sharp, and back to the E minor. Now what can I do over that? Well, I could do this. That's that partial of the E minor I just showed you. And then on the 7th fret, there's the D chord, back to this one. Pretty easy, right? Now go to the D. If you want to climb, I'm doing the 9th, 10th, and 12th. So it goes from, so what I'm doing is I'm doing that first E minor form, then up. That's one of the patterns that works. Okay? So you can mess around with that. Pretty cool. Now, another thing you can do, harmonic. So this is all minor feeling, right? I'm going to go to the harmonic. So what is that harmonic, you might ask? Well, I'm on the 7th fret of the D, the G, and the B. And this might take a little bit of doing, to practice, but if you're sitting around watching TV or whatever, harmonics happen a lot of places, but this is one I found is the 7th fret. Remember when you do harmonic though, you're not playing between the frets like a regular, you're playing over actually this fret here, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, you're playing over the 7th fret. Which is also, by the way, the same principle that applies when you're playing slide. Here's a little piece of information for you. If you're not familiar with slide and how it works, which you may or may not be, I do a lot of slide workshops at jimmydillon.com. I've actually done a couple of kind of fun projects around slide guitar, open tunings and stuff. Rockin' the Blues and Slide. I have like a whole 3-hour thing. So check it out at my website if you're into that stuff. But in the meantime, back to this E minor D thing. It's just a fun way, being that we've approached the major key. We did E, we did G, we did A, and I think I showed you guys, hopefully shined a light on how to apply partials or double stops or whatever you want to call it as an embellishment, as a way to play along with somebody. Because really, at the end of the day, we want to be able to have, I would say, a vocabulary of licks that, whether it's in a minor key or major key, that we can add to the story. If someone's playing a rhythm, it could be a song or whatever, you're accompanying someone, right? So I don't know, I think that's really important, because a lot of times just single notes are great, but they're not as, to me, they're not as compelling as sometimes as a double stop or a, that to me is a nice, it's a nice way to go, and it doesn't step on anybody's toes if someone's playing a rhythm. So hopefully that you got something out of that. There's your E minor shape, and there's your D shape. Your 10 and your 12. Yeah, so that's it. So I'm just going to go ahead, and now what I'm going to do is, what I like to do this at the end of the lesson, I like to play out what we've just, kind of journeyed through. and see if I come up with something that you might like. And I look forward to your comments, by the way, if you hear something you like. But hit me up at jimmydillon.com. Leave a message or tell me what you're looking for, and I'll try to add that to our repertoire. So here we go. I'm going to play it out, and I will see you down the road. So here we go. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see you down the road.